What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripes show. Hey, we got a series win. It's maybe the worst feeling series win I can remember in a long time, Scott. But they did win 2 out of 3, which is what we asked for after the Baltimore series loss. So if we're trying to be positive, glass half full kind of people, that's what we should focus on.
I love how you mock the whole intention of being half glass full. And
How can you feel good? How can you feel good about that series?
No,
Come
I get
on.
it. No, you don't. All right. It was a cold weekend in Detroit, and the Yankees did not look good. I will say their starting pitching, the pitching outside of one guy looked good.
Yeah. Everyone on the team except Gerrit Cole.
Everybody on the team on the pitching side looked good except for one largely throated man.
We're going to do Gerrit Cole. We're going to bring back eye test versus nerd test, which we have not done in like over a year. Excited to bring it back. We'll talk about Gerrit Cole's worst start of his career in that segment. But I mean, the leading story of the series is that the Yankees offense is putrid. It's just they invent new ways to not score runs. They had a couple opportunities on Thursday afternoon. First and second, one out. Can't get it done. Then they've got bases loaded and they can't score anyone. And at this point, I'm not even surprised, right? Like, I'm not even surprised when they don't come through because no one seems to come through with runners on base. And it's only a couple of guys that are even having good at-bats as they go up there. Like, DJ's having good at-bats. You know, believe it or not, Hicks is actually having good at-bats since he moved to the leadoff spot. IKF has been hitting well, especially on this road trip. I think coming into Thursday, he was like 9 for his last 18.
9 for 17, got another hit. So yeah.
The rest of the lineup is just non-existent.
Rizzo's been good. I mean, Rizzo's been good.
Do you say Judge has been good?
Rizzo.
Yeah, Rizzo. Okay, fine. Rizzo's been good, but Judge hasn't looked great. Stanton
after the first 2 games has been bad. He's been struggling.
Stanton has like 19 strikeouts and only 1 walk on the season. He's not walking. He's swinging at everything. And I understand it's early. Yes, it's early. I get it. It's early. But this team is having an all-time for their franchise, all-time horrible start offensively. They're scoring like less than 3 runs a game, and they've been shut out 4 times already. We're 2 weeks into the season.
Yeah, and you're playing Detroit and Baltimore in 2 of those series. The Detroit pitching should not have been shutting out teams like that. You know, the concern is when you look back into last year and you saw this, you know, we know of this slow start that the offense had. The pitching, again, was good. Slow offensive start, kind of what we're seeing again so far, qualifying this as April 21st. But at the same time, it's the core guys that were there are struggling. They're struggling. And Gallo is just a freaking black hole. I mean, I don't know where to go. I don't know how anybody that really like leans on analytics has a leg to stand on with him at this point. The guy, he's not even playing a good left field, taking, to me, bad angles at a ball. You know, his throws to home, the one he made on Tuesday night was terrible. He's just playing terribly overall. But the guys that are making contact, they're doing their jobs right now. It's just they're not the big guys are not productive and not banging them in, and that's a problem.
Yeah, and I understand that when the team does not execute with runners on base, it's just going to look extra bad. Logan's putting in a stat right now: 2 outs, runners in scoring position so far this season. The team's hitting .095. Right, like it's laughable in a way, like how bad that is, like to hit under 100 to with runners in scoring position in 2 outs. Just you cannot buy a clutch hit, whether you believe in clutch or not. Like you can't even buy runs at this point. They pop up with guys on base, like, and even think about how they scored runs in the first game. Okay, Donaldson's up in the first inning and hits a sky-high pop-up to the pitcher, and the Tigers botch it, and that's how the Yankees got their first 2 runs on Tuesday. So they're not even scoring runs in legitimate ways. You got Gleyber Torres up there who's afraid to swing the bat because he's just so terrible, bunting, and the pitcher just can't field the ball. It's like the Tigers are such a shitty team that they just handed the Yankees like 4 runs in this series.
Yeah, they did. You know, I mean, look. It's true. LeMahieu got a base hit. I think, what was that? Was that Tuesday night? 2 outs. RBI base hit. Like, yes, I'm looking at that. I'm like, yes, I love it. That's like, give me these base hits that drive in runs. Yeah. It's like the sexiest thing I could possibly see. But if we have our if we get zeros from everybody else besides the guys that are, hitting singles, that's also tough sledding right there. You need the power guys to do some power things after the guys get on base, and that's just not happening. Rizzo is...
It's poor execution with guys on base and bad at-bats with guys on base. Like, Hicks has been pretty good.
He has been good.
Since he's moved to the leadoff spot. He's hitting over 300, but he's had a few awful at-bats with runners in base. Today, he pops up with first and third. Just a terrible at-bat. He's grounded into, I believe, 2 double plays with the bases loaded so far this year. So even though Hicks's baseball reference page looks solid, you watch the at-bats with guys on base and they need him to do something positive, and he's not coming through. And I'm not putting all the blame on Aaron Hicks. That would be silly when the rest of the lineup also isn't performing. But my point is, even the guys that are quote-unquote having good at-bats are having bad at-bats with runners on base. Other than DJ LeMahieu, I can't think of a
IKF for the last week and a half has had good at bats. He hit the ball hard with on I think Wednesday night with runners on base. It was just right at second base. It was a hit right at second base, but he barreled up the ball. He had a base hit with runners on. Him and LeMahieu to me have been two of the, and I mean Rizzo's been good. He's the production on the team right now. I think he got 3 home runs. He's among league leaders in home runs at this point right now, and he looks good offensively. He's having some good at bats against lefties, which we know he has good splits against. But yeah, Stanton. I think when you see Stanton go through one of those streaks where he can't hit anything, because we know he's either hits everything and he's chopping wood and he's taking an axe out, and like if it's over his head he hits a home run, if it's on the ground he hits a home run, if it's gonna hit him, he hits a home run. But then when you have the Stanton streaks of ball down the middle and I can't hit a goddamn thing, it's crazy how he how he goes through those zones. But when he's an offer, it's a big offer in the middle, and then DJ's up with nobody on and just getting another base hit.
They're 25th in the majors in runs scored. They're tied for 14th in home runs. They're 18th in OPS. They're 15th in hits. They have the 9th most strikeouts. They have the 12th. They're 12th in the majors in walks. 3.25 runs a game. They're leaving almost 8 guys on base a game. So it's again the traffic on the base is okay. Well, it just stays there. It just freaking stays.
We could look at this as fluky and bad luck, but you go back to last year and the same exact thing was happening. They couldn't hit with runners.
200 games of this. Yeah. Even going back into the 2020 season. Okay, I know it was a 60-game season, but you add the 60-game season to the 160-game season last year, and then the 20 games that they've played so far. They haven't even played 20 games. However many games they've played this year. This is no longer a small sample size for this offense. I know Donaldson wasn't here. IKF.
There's a lot of guys that weren't here. It's tough to go.
Not a lot. Some.
The third baseman,
but a lot of them were here.
The shortstop. Yeah, the left fielder was only here for half of a year last year. The first baseman was only here for half of a year. There's a lot of guys that are new. The catching, for all intents and purposes, is new.
Situation is new. Great. Yeah. The left fielder was only here half a season, and he hit 150. Okay.
Yeah.
Gallo.
It's all about the.
You mentioned Gallo is a black hole. Gallo looks like he's out of place. Like he's not. Like everything is wrong. Like he doesn't even look comfortable. Like I don't know how to explain it. Just him walking around the dugout, him in the on deck circle. Like something looks off with him. And he's obviously probably pressing. He probably feels pressure, right? Because he got a lot of criticism after he struggled last year, and there was even brief rumors that the Yankees were not going to tender him a contract,
which I was kind of hoping for. That would have solved some problems, gotten another guy out in left field that can make contact with the ball. I mean, just make contact with the ball. At least today he did. He went like opposite field, line drive to the left fielder. I was like, oh, that felt like progress.
So he just looks completely uncomfortable, and I don't know how that's going to change unless he starts going on a little hot streak, because a hot streak can change all things. You get your confidence back, you get your mojo working, and maybe he's back on track. But
he's a Gold Glove left fielder too, and he's not playing defense the way that he needs to as well. I mean, he's got a plus arm. He's he made a throw from left field to cut off a run at home, and it was not even close. Today, I thought he took a bad route to the ball that ended up scoring that first run. In left field, it went all the way. He couldn't cut it off, and it went all the way to the wall. And then he kind of bobbled it a little bit and got it in. That cost them a run. So, both sides of the ball, he's not executing. And a guy like that who can't hit the backside of a barn sometimes and goes into these long, just strikes out half of his at bats. You got to play good defense. If you can't play good defense, I don't know what we're doing with you. You're Chris Carter.
And with Gallo, he's obviously gonna play a decent amount because the alternative is Locastro, and I just don't see the Yankees sticking with Locastro as the starting left fielder. And Stanton's only gonna play the outfield a couple times a week maximum, so Gallo's gonna have to get a lot of playing time. Whereas with Gleyber Torres, I think you can just bench him, and I know he sat today, and I'm fine with that. Like, there's no reason that DJ LeMahieu should not just be the starting second baseman from here on out. I understand Gleyber's going to have to get some playing time, but he does not deserve to be the starting second baseman. He just doesn't. He's been terrible. He's lost. Okay. And until he figures it out, you can't just sacrifice a key position on the field when you have a legitimate second baseman option in DJ.
Well, I think what the reason why that will not be a permanent thing is because of Josh Donaldson. We have not seen him play. What has he played back-to-back games at third? He hasn't played in the field. If he did, it's been few and far between. He's been a guy that
he's been getting a lot of rest.
A lot of load management.
And that's clearly
a lot of load management, or a lot of him, not feeling comfortable or not being healthy. A guy that's banged up potentially. I don't know, but he's not out there. So when you have that,
he's banged up.
Well, who knows? It could be soreness. It could be general soreness. But when you have a guy,
he didn't have a good flight out to Detroit. Right?
Yeah,
didn't he not have any leg room?
Yeah, he's like, why? I'm with the New York Yankees now, and I can't get leg room. What's happening here? But you have DJ LeMahieu who can slide over and play third base. That's going to have to happen. Therefore, you got Gleyber at second.
If Donaldson was injured, I think they would just put him on the IL because
I don't think he's injured. I think it's more of like an early season.
I don't think he's injured either. I think he's just playing bad, and I do think they have a load management plan for him. So that's why Gleyber Torres is going to still get a lot of playing time. But
how do you get Gleyber Torres back on the path unless you're playing him against a team like Detroit?
Frankly, I don't care. I don't know what is the path. We haven't seen the path for Gleyber Torres since 2019. Then it's 2022.
Then let's get Andor back up here so he can hit doubles.
I don't know. Maybe
and play left field.
They do. I don't think they're gonna option Gleyber down, but that's a way to get him back on the path. I think that would just completely destroy him mentally.
How good is this? How good is this? Tyler Wade's lighting it up out in the
of course he is.
Out on the left coast, just playing like his best baseball he's ever played. He's getting consistent playing time. Finally starts turning a corner last year in a Yankees uniform, and they're like, now's the time we're gonna say goodbye and go with Gleyber. It's just frustrating. Not to say that Tyler Wade's the guy by any means, but I'm just saying when I see him doing well over there and then I see what Gleyber does here, it just frustrates me.
But in reality,
Tyro Estrada having a pretty good season out there in San Francisco. You know what I'm saying? Like I just don't like
all these guys
that.
would be your backups, and they have backups in the minors that they could call up and be backups.
But you know what? They're actually playing. They're not playing like backups on other teams. They're playing like contributing players.
Of course. The grass is always greener. It's the same reason why we always like the backup catcher as Yankees.
No, but they're actually being productive on other teams is the point. It's not the same situation here. They are actually being productive in more consistent roles on other teams. That's what's happening.
Yeah. It's been a mess offensively, and the pitching, other than Cole, has been really, really good. And if not for really, really good pitching, this team would be a complete dumpster fire. Even Chapman, who looked horrible over the weekend, comes and has a couple of clean saves this week. And you've got Clark Schmidt cleaning up Gerrit Cole's mess on Tuesday, getting his first big league win. Then you have Severino going out and building on his last start with another strong 5-inning start. I actually would have pushed him to the 6th inning. He had 88 pitches. I know they probably had a hard pitch count. They weren't going to do it. And so I even feel silly even arguing it. But he had such an easy 5th inning. And then I see what Chad Green did, and it's just like an easy second guess. And part of me is just like, I understand you've got a pitch limit, but also use your eyeballs. And I think he threw 11 pitches in the 5th inning, and it was effortless, and he was fired up. It's like, let him go back out there, but fine, they didn't. They still won the game. But that's another positive. Montgomery even looked really good today.
He looked very good.
He only gives up the 1, and he didn't allow Miguel Cabrera to get his 3,000th hit, which I think is kind of cool. You could see Montgomery really competing and not wanting to give up the 3,000th hit. Doesn't want to be the David Price for Miguel Cabrera, right? Or the Justin Verlander to A-Rod on that.
Oh, but you do remember their names. That's the other
side. You remember their names because let's face it, Justin Verlander is a future Hall of Famer, and David Price, love him or hate him, think he's a freaking weenie, which I do. He's been one of the best pitchers over the last decade, so that's why you remember their names.
Yeah. No, I mean, the pitching has been good. I tweeted out Clark Schmidt could be everything that I wanted Sonny Gray to be, because when I look at the style of the way that curveball, he does remind me, stature and everything, like the fact that he's got that, he'll throw the kitchen sink at you. He does have a similar pitching style to Sonny Gray, and when you see that big curveball, like that was one of the really good parts that you're looking for when we made that trade with Oakland. Like that 12-6 curve is nasty, and he does remind me. Even his pitching mechanics remind me a little bit of like early Sonny Gray. And if we can get something like that, I mean, hell yeah, that's exactly. That's good stuff. But he looks healthy and looks confident and looks very good. I mean, he looked very good. That was a big moment for him to step up and pitch the way he did. He saved Gerrit Cole's ass.
He got out of Gerrit Cole's mess and then gave him another 3 innings. Yeah, his curveball was ranked best curveball in the Yankee system.
Yeah,
preseason. I forget.
I mean,
what rankings.
Talk about eye test versus nerd test. You watch that ball and it's like a true 12-6. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So he's a fun one to watch, and definitely someone that if he can keep up some momentum and he's got those secondary pitches working and he's using that as an out pitch, like he could be very tough.
Yeah, and he's being used as a long man right now. So those opportunities are infrequent, right? Like, and they're unpredictable. You don't know when you're going to need the long man to come in. Didn't think it was going to be on Gerrit Cole's start,
sure,
but it was. But the rest of the rotation is pitching strong, so there's not even necessarily an opportunity to get him a start unless we have a doubleheader or something like that.
No, but he's playing a role, and like I don't think it necessarily needs to be a start as long as he's.
No, but I think people are going to want to.
Those are meaningful innings. Those were meaningful innings that he kept the Yankees in the game. Like they were huge.
But if he continues to throw meaningful innings out of the bullpen, and he was a starting pitcher throughout his career in the minors, people are naturally going to be like, okay, when is the move to him into the rotation? And my point was, as it stands now, there's no place for him in the rotation.
No, which is a good thing for this team because they need a guy like that coming in and mopping up and keeping in a game. Not even mopping up.
Well, what if Gerrit Cole goes to the bullpen?
I was going to say Gerrit Cole might be the guy that is changing.
Yeah. And then that was his first career win, which is huge, and he's battled injuries, so it's really great to see him. It was nice to see him be able to do that on a night that Gerrit Cole was so bad, do it in the quote unquote freezing cold, frigid tundra of Detroit, which I'm sure Gerrit Cole was just waiting to blame they couldn't grip the ball on the cold. Yet there's Clark Schmidt gripping the ball just fine, getting people out. So it's just, I understand that it was cold, but if everything has to go perfect for you, Garrett, I don't know what to tell you.
The post-game interview with him too, I mean, clear frustration across, not really, also talking about the fact that he really did, he believed he executed even some pitches in that second inning, but when he wanted to make a pitch, couldn't. And I know we're going to talk about him, so maybe we should just do that. But this is what we've identified for a long time. If you're not controlling the at bat from the beginning as Gerrit Cole, you're just a different guy. You're just a different guy, and that's what happened.
Yeah. I mean, is there really anything else you want to touch on from the Detroit series? I mean, Michael Pineda, what do you say? 40 pounds he put on?
Oh, at least. There's another person in there.
He's like, there was a point where he was throwing, and I was like, I think his his belly isn't gonna get out of the way of his arm to throw the pitch. How is this working? It's not like how CC for whatever reason just wore the weight well on the mound, whereas everything is in Pineda's gut. It's all in his gut.
He's thick, man. Yeah, I mean,
he's been eating.
He also shut down the Yankees, which is just.
Yeah, we should have predicted, right? Like the game, if there was a game the Yankees were not going to score a run, it was going to be the Michael Pineda start.
Yeah, of course. On fleek, baby, as the kids would say.
A nice throwback to 2016 Mother's Day, I believe it was.
That was the Michael K call when Pineda struck out 18.
No, I think it was 16.
16?
I don't think it was 18.
Yeah,
whatever.
We made a T-shirt with a bunch of K's on it. There were either 16 or 18 of them on there.
Yeah, so that I thought that was funny. And would you have liked to see Miggy get the 3,000th hit this series? I was kind of rooting for him because, listen, I'm not going to watch the next Tigers game when he gets it, and I would have liked to see it live. That's fun. That's not something you see live every day. So I was kind of rooting for him to get the 3,000th hit.
Yeah, as long as it wasn't going to be in a situation that hurt the Yankees in the game, then fine, let's see it. You know, what would have been nice is if he did it if Gerrit Cole was in like the 5th inning and then like that happened and then they did like a 20-minute celebration. You know, like part of me also, when I see AJ Hinch, by the way, the call out by the umpire last night about that Houston has challenged the call because AJ Hinch was the one who did it.
So good.
I laughed out loud when I heard that. That was amazing. But like you know damn well
old
he's
umpires with microphones do not mix.
Well, which is great. It's great entertainment. But you know damn well like he's got things that he's poking at. If I forgot, but going into this series that AJ Hinch was in the other dugout.
You think that's what it's about? You think?
No, I'm just. Well, there may have been something. They announced before. He's an asshole, and he knows Gerrit Cole, and he probably knows all of his tendencies.
They announced before the game today.
He also knows
Thursday,
why he was good.
They announced before the game Thursday that if Miggy got his 3,000th hit, they were going to pause the game to do a ceremony. And if Montgomery was on the mound, he would have been allowed to go in the dugout and into the clubhouse to do whatever. And how long was this ceremony going to be? Like, was it going to be a 2-minute round the field, say hi to everyone, or we're going to have like a 25-minute ceremony where he's getting gifts and shit? Like, come on, guys, you can't. 2 minutes, fine, but you can't pause the game for a half hour for a freaking ceremony.
7 people.
That's also why I wanted to see it. I wanted to see what they were going to do.
7 people. Well, you'll see it in the highlights now, but 7 people. That is one of those clubs that's, you know, it shows not only skill but longevity. It's truly an elite group of ball players who get to that mark. So.
Did you see that he had his first hit was a home run, his 1,000th and 2,000th hit were also home runs? I was like, oh, if he could pull off the 3,000th hit home run.
He almost did. He just got the end of the bat in that first one. He got
the end of the bat, yeah.
I thought off the bat, you know, with all the excitement too, there was a little bit of extra in Rucco's voice, I think, in the beginning too. I thought it was out.
Where do you rank Miguel Cabrera in offensive players in his era? Like, he's not one. I don't think he's number one. Like, his era is the 2010s, right? Even though he was he's been in the league.
He's been around for so long. He's just not been that same guy for
2003. He was up, right? Because they showed the clip of him hitting the home run off of Roger Clemens in the 2003 World Series. So if you want to call his era, you know, 2005 to 2015 as his prime years, like, where do you rank him?
It's tough. I don't know. You caught me off guard with this question. I would thinking that as far as like right-handed, because I tend to go to the side of the plate because there's just so many guys.
Which is stupid, by the way.
Fine, but when I think of the best right-handed hitters, like the first guy I think of, the most dangerous right-handed hitter to me still is Manny Ramirez. Like that's where my mind goes, and then Cabrera was like the next guy coming in as like
over Pujols.
Well, Pujols but Miguel Cabrera also, like it got personal for a minute with him and the Yankees.
Sure, Miguel Cabrera's been a Yankee killer.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Pujols is up there. Pujols was, but it was Manny, Pujols, and Miguel Cabrera. I'd say is like probably the top 3 feared right-handed hitters that I, from that era is my.
Why do we do that as baseball fans? The best right-handed hitter, the best left-handed hitter. Like, okay, who's the best hitter of all time?
Because there are so many players that I think putting them on one side is just easier.
Then
to
there's
categorize.
also switch hitters, the best switch hitter of all time. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's why we go by position too, and era.
The
you
era
have to
also
drill things down.
includes. The era includes Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah, well, that's true. But
yeah,
I mean, when I'm also looking at opponents. Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, I would be stupid not to say A-Rod in that group as well. But that's where you go. Like, how do you qualify all of these guys as just the top 3 when you're going for both sides of the plate? It's very difficult to do.
Yeah, 977 OPS over that 10-year span that I mentioned, 05 to 15. And I wonder if he didn't play in Detroit, which is a pitcher's ballpark, what his numbers would have been. Like, I don't know how many home runs he lost playing in Detroit. I mean, I think his batting average probably was helped in Detroit because he has won batting titles and he won a Triple Crown. And large outfields like Detroit are actually good for hits because more hits just fall in. You hit the ball off the end of the bat. It's not going to get caught. Might fall in 2 feet in front of the outfielder. But I definitely think he probably lost, I don't know, 5 home runs a year playing in Detroit, which over 15 years, I mean, that shit adds up.
Yeah, but I mean, even he's still hitting. He's still hitting home runs. He has 500 home runs, doesn't he? Didn't he hit 500 last year? I think he did.
Yeah, he has 500 home runs. They had the sign out there, 503.
Yeah.
And then 2999 was the signs that they had out there.
Yeah, so I don't think he's crying about the lost home runs in Detroit when he gets to 500. So,
any other thoughts from the Tiger series before we move on to Gerrit Cole?
They need to tighten up. The offense needs to start executing.
Oh, really?
That's it. Yeah, let's start getting more production from the big guys, please. Thank you.
Okay, so let's move on to Gerrit Cole, worst start of his career, and we did get a funny review that I screenshotted here. The review on the podcast was from Concerned Gecko. Quote, bet the farm on Cole. That aged well. 1 2/3 innings from our, quote, ace. Emoji face, just blank face. Yeah, so we told you last week if you're going to bet a game, bet the Cole game. And hey, they did still win it, but I don't think that's how we drew it up.
It's exactly how we drew it up.
We, of course, said to go over to the WinBet app, download, use code BlueWire, and you can bet $10, win $200. And if you're going to bet a game last week, bet it on Cole. But I think we also did say or Severino. So
it doesn't matter. 2-0. Like the degenerate gambler does not care about how the thing happened. It just what is the result? 2-0. That's all I know.
The result was right. However, I don't know that we predicted it correctly. Regardless, eye test versus nerd test. What the F is going on with Gerrit Cole? So quickly, he walked 5 in that game. His 5th walk of last season came in his 9th start, and he walked 5 on Tuesday night in an inning and 2/3. It was just absolutely horrendous. His fastball has not been good. He cannot locate it. That's the biggest thing. He has not been able to locate it. Logan pulled a bunch of numbers on his pitch usage over the last couple years. So his 4-seam fastball in 2020 had a whiff percentage of 37.5%. It dropped to 27.6% in 2021. A big portion of that season was without sticky stuff.
Yeah. Logan, I don't know if you saw this or not, or even picked up on it, just like eye test stuff, but the difference between, July, before July and then after July.
Well, we looked that up.
Yeah. I'm wondering how much of the difference, like how much is the post-July numbers weighed into that percentage? Because I bet it's even worse.
Not as much as I was expecting. So his whiff percentage on his fastball for the year of 2021 by month was March 11.8%, April 13.8%, May 17.8%. May was when he was just like extra elite. Mm-hmm. June 8%. June was when sticky stuff, the SI article was published in June. But then in July, it went up to 15%. And in August, it was 17%. And then September down to 14%. So certainly something was going on in June. maybe he figured to use something else out in July and August. And I think September he was battling injury. I really do think his hamstring was hurt last year.
I agree with you. I think his hamstring was definitely hurt. But look, at the end of the day, if that guy can't locate his fastball, he's not even remotely close to the same guy. Like, bottom line, it's not that difficult. He needs to control the early count. He needs to control the count early, dot his fastball, and work off of it. And if he's not working off of his fastball, if he's not able to locate it, then it's a big problem. It's a really big problem.
This is where the eye test versus nerd test comes in, right? Because like the eye test is telling you his fastball is not elite anymore, and then the nerd test is like, well, he is still getting the whiffs on it, but that doesn't tell the whole story, right? The whole story is not just how many swings and misses you're getting, because the eye test is showing me he doesn't have the same confidence in that four-seam fastball. Just look at the pitches that he's choosing to throw. He started throwing cutters this year. He never threw a cutter before. He was going to off-speed stuff early in counts his first 3 outings of the year. That is not the Gerrit Cole of the last 2 years that would just attack with four-seam fastballs, blow it past you, then go to the curveball or the slider as his put-away pitch, or high fastballs in the zone as his put-away pitch. And if they did make contact, it was going to be a pop-up. They were going to be late on it. It was going to be a medium deep fly ball because his fastball is just that elite. That is not what we're watching anymore. It's just not.
This is a guy that's like falling over trying to locate a fastball. Like there were times where his lower half was just not engaged with his mechanics during that start, and he looked completely out of sync. Like he couldn't even remotely get the ball close to an area that he wanted to, and visible frustration. He even talked about in this post game interview about his legs were shaking. Like he had that type of feeling where
not drinking enough water before the game. Was he dehydrated? What the hell is he talking about?
Or it's just like chilly? Anxiety.
Wear some long johns, dude. I don't know. Like,
is he
anxiety?
I don't know. It's like, when you get that knee shaking thing, it's like, oh man, I'm in trouble or something's wrong. Like to me, that's kind of what I felt like he meant. Aaron Boone coming out and like, oh, dad's coming and he's mad at me. And I'm saying a lot of 4-letter words, and just like, he seemed like he was disheveled. Like it was like didn't know what was going on. Like he blacked out in a moment and had no idea. And if he is in that, what am I saying here? If he doesn't have control, the lack of control of what's going to happen is very worrisome to me, because these guys are creatures of habits. They have muscle memory to get into the mechanics. And if his mechanics if he's not able to get back into those mechanics, and this guy talking about a creature of habit, my God, is he a creature of habit? If he's not able to get back into that zone and he gets mental, I'm afraid of what's going to happen for him.
Do you think he's equipped to handle struggling in New York?
I don't know. He's not equipped to handle struggling in Detroit.
But no, my point is,
I know, in a Yankees uniform. I have not felt like that.
He's gotten heat, right? Since the sticky stuff,
Yeah.
And then his numbers went down.
Yeah.
And especially at the end of last year, and him getting beat in the wild card game, he's gotten some criticism. It hasn't been a ton, but he's gotten some criticism. But so far, it's been a bad start to the season. If it's June 1st and he's rocking a 5 ERA, is he mentally equipped? Is he emotionally equipped to handle that sort of criticism and pressure? Like, for example, Sabathia, I don't know.
Totally
I think
different.
He was able to handle it, but
totally
also,
different.
Also Sabathia, something we didn't know, was drinking himself silly in his hotel room.
Yes.
In the years 2013, 14, and 15 when he was struggling.
Yes.
So that's how he was coping with it. We just didn't know that.
Well, he also had a problem.
It
wasn't just a coping mechanism, but he was
yes, I know it was
that.
Rooted in other things.
Yes.
But in that documentary that he bore all these details, he said the pitching, me struggling on the mound, was part of it.
Oh, for sure. Definitely part of it. So there's no doubt.
So like Sabathia, on the surface, we were like, Sabathia can handle this. And I think he did handle it. And I think Sabathia is the type of person that was able to handle failure. And
Sabathia was also in a very different place in his career. He was also like
that's
coming
true, but
to grips.
he was still making a boatload of money. And that's also part of this, is you're the highest paid player on the team. You were brought here to be the ace, and you are pitching like poop.
Sabathia also coming to grips that he's not the same pitcher. Age, father time also that's setting true. In, and he had to reinvent himself. Gerrit Cole, if we're at a place where he's got to reinvent himself, like this man should be very close to the prime of his career coming out there. Like the pitcher's prime, I'd say is, can definitely extend a little bit later as well. Like this guy is in that spot where he needs to be the best pitcher on the planet. And if you're asking about like the mental fortitude in a June, if he's at there, but hold on, I'm more worried about the 5 ERA in June, because that means to me, he's not the same pitcher. Which is worse? The fact that you can't handle being a bad pitcher, or the fact that you're a bad pitcher?
Yeah, I don't know what's worse.
The fact that you're a bad pitcher is much worse, and something that's not that is like the most worrisome to me, because now your skills are evaporating. And are they rooted? Is there something with this substance? Is there something with this the lack of spider tech or whatnot? I don't know. Was he injured last year because mechanics changed, similar to what's his face from Tampa? Like injuries happening because you're not doing the same things. You're over Glasnow. Are you overextending? Are you doing different things in your mechanics that lead to an injury, then make your play suffer because you can't control a ball the way that you used to? I don't know, but very possible.
Another thing that stands out in the pitch usage is he threw his curveball 17% in 2020. Then 15.7% in 2021, and so far this year only 7% on the curveball. And he has been throwing the new pitch, which is the cutter, 11% of the time. It's actually been effective, but again, the fact that he's moved to developing a cutter is, I think, the flag here, because he doesn't have the fastball confidence, I think. We saw Michael Pineda today, and there was a clear difference in Michael Pineda today than what we had known Michael Pineda as. He's a big dude anyway. Like he's a large individual. And when I see the back-to-back pictures of Gerrit Cole, a couple years ago and to now, I mean, you can't tell me that his conditioning has improved over that time. There's clearly a difference in conditioning. Now, I'm not saying that they're connected, but maybe they are, because if a guy like this isn't doing the same type of regimen in the off season, isn't working his legs in the same way, isn't working out, isn't getting into shape as he should and need to be to get into the season, that can certainly affect your mechanics. And right now, that's what I'm seeing. Mechanics are off. If it's not a substance that he can't control and dot his fastball, then you got to look squarely at mechanics, and anything that can throw mechanics off, you need to look at as well. And conditioning is certainly one of them. If he's not conditioned to come into this season and his mechanics are off because of that, that's a big problem for Gerrit Cole, who's resting on his past. I don't know what the hell he's doing. But that's certainly something that I don't think is out of bounds to question. When you look at those pictures, there is a very clear difference in the look of him. So Logan threw Cole's game log from June on from last year, and I know the ERA was still really good up until September, when I think he was injured. But look at the walks. Look at the walk column. He went from basically walking no one to walking 2 or 3 batters a game, and I think that directly goes to
fastball command,
grip on the baseball, and fewer strikeouts as well. His strikeout to walk ratio was something insane, like 60-2 to start the season. Now I understand that's not sustainable, but then that just didn't continue. And again, why did that not continue? And yes, he still had good games after June. Everyone points to the Houston complete game. No one is saying that he just, like, the Monstars didn't steal his talent, right? Like, he still was throwing high 90s, and he was still...
But it's inconsistent. It's inconsistent.
Talent. It's just more inconsistency. And the Yankees are not paying him to be inconsistent. They're paying him to be, in his prime, the best pitcher on the planet right now. And if this was the number 4 pitcher and he's making $12 million, who cares? But that's not the situation that Gerrit Cole finds himself in. And I think that's why everyone is freaking out about it. And I acknowledge it's early in the season. It's 3 starts. He's going to have 27, 28 more starts in the year. He could be lights out in all of them, and then we're going to forget this ever happened. But if he's not lights out, this team is going nowhere. He needs to be lights out for them to win a championship. Even to I think, compete in the playoffs, he needs to be lights out.
You and I have debated on this many times about why the Yankees have had struggles in the past in the playoffs. And to me, it's always still gone back to offense and not executing in timely situations on the offense. So I actually do think that if Gerrit Cole is not that guy, even looking at the way Severino pitches, the way that this bullpen is nasty, they actually do have enough on the pitching side that
they be a lot harder.
It's definitely going to be a lot harder. But if they're not executing at the plate in timely positions, you're done.
Of course.
But they do have the pitching staff, top to bottom right now, is executing outside of Gerrit Cole.
The pitching has not been the Yankees' problem so far this year. It's the offense. No one is saying otherwise.
Look, 3 years, not been the problem. Especially when you get into the postseason, it's not been the problem.
Well, really, last year their pitching was top, I believe, top 10. Maybe even top 5 in the American League.
Yeah,
certainly.
I mean, if
their
we're a podcast that
offense was bottom 10.
If we're a podcast that gives any kind of coaches credit, Marty Bloke, man.
Blake.
Marty Bloke, I tell you, that guy.
Good.
He's been very good. Whether it's directly him or not, got to give him credit. He's the lead guy. He came in from junior college in Massachusetts, wherever the hell he came from, like practically out of nowhere, but had the analytics background, was trained in Cleveland, had a lot of that. The guy's done well. The guy's gotten a lot out of the pitchers that have been underneath him. So you got to give him credit for that.
Cole's next start's coming against Cleveland this weekend, right? When is he scheduled to pitch? Would that be Sunday? I believe he's scheduled to pitch on Sunday, at home. I mean, this is a big start for him. I don't want to overstate something early in the season, but if he gets crushed again, or if he walks 5 batters in 2 innings, at home,
it's going to be
pretty ugly for him. It's going to be pretty ugly, especially because he has done things like, say, the game didn't start on time. Billy Crystal was out there for 2 extra minutes, so that's why I got hit in the first inning.
Yankees fans can't stand that shit. More than anything,
it's the worst.
More than anything in the world. You start giving dumbass excuses like that, that is how you create enemies in the stands. You don't do that, man. Come on. Like that's as basic as shaving and cutting your hair and tweeting about the fact that you were a Yankees fan as a kid.
Yep.
Don't give excuses about dumb shit like that because no one wants to hear it.
I mean, honestly, I don't know why this is not taught by the Yankees PR at definitely agents of players, just like to avoid being hated by fans and criticized in the media. If you don't perform on the field, just stand in front of your locker and say, I stink. I need to get better.
Yes.
End of story. And then everyone will just shut the hell up.
Yep. It's really that simple.
It's so simple.
There's a limit there depending on how much you're getting paid and how long it lasts, but that's a very good approach, is own it, be accountable for what happens on the field, and that's it. New York Yankees fans love a good comeback story. They also love a person that is down but accountable. Not to say they love it, but they understand it. You start flashing any kind of excuses or smile or do anything like that, you're gonna get crucified.
Who smiled once when they got taken out of the game early for sucking?
You're gonna get crucified.
And if you just own it, then you win the fans back over, and then they're on your side in the crowd, and you have just a decent game. You get a standing ovation coming off the field, right? So the one thing about Yankees fans, they certainly are hard to please, but they're also quick to applaud.
And CeCe's been very outspoken about that exact thing. Like, Yankees fans are fair in that way. They know how much money you're getting paid. They know what you're doing. They understand also that people are people and struggles happen sometimes. But when you start giving excuses and you're the highest paid player and you're supposed to be the ace of the team and you're like talking about Billy Crystal, I mean, it's not a good combination, bro. It's not. So
it's not.
All is forgiven if he just gets up there and pitches the way he needs to. And that's what needs to happen.
Well, of course.
Three starts in, not overblowing this as much as, maybe it sounds like we are, but you got to look at these things. I'm sorry if I'm bringing up conditioning for him. When I saw that picture, it's very drastic. It's very apparent. And when I'm seeing bad mechanics.
That's him being a dad now?
when I'm seeing bad mechanics and I'm seeing inconsistencies, it can absolutely go back to conditioning.
Listen, I know that Gerrit Cole probably has him and his wife probably have a nanny that's getting up in the middle of the night with the baby, but
you don't know that. Maybe he's getting up.
Maybe not. Speaking as a father of a 1-year-old, and Scott, you went through this as well. Just sleep is non-existent, and if you don't get sleep, you're just not in the same condition. You're just not.
Once every 5 days, he's got enough money to figure that out.
He's also on the road half the time, so he's sleeping in king beds.
Let's all be honest. He's got a nanny. He's got an au pair.
He's got probably multiple. All right, so you've got your boo coming into town, Jose Ramirez, leading the league in basically everything. Offensive category.
Logan knows all about that.
I was also looking at the Guardians baseball reference page, and I saw someone by the name of Steven Kwan, who's got also amazing stats. He's a rookie outfielder. He's got like a 220 OPS plus so far this season. So other than Jose Ramirez, don't let Kwan beat you this weekend. But the Guardians are a team, as we said on the last episode, you have to beat. This is not a good team, despite the fact that they have the best player in the league.
Oh, and by the way, also there's a gentleman by the name of Owen Miller, who is now also on my fantasy team, who's having a phenomenal start to the season. He's, I think, he's a top 3 player in fantasy baseball right now, hitting 500, couple home runs, 7 RBIs. Like the kid's, I think he's out on COVID right now. He was out of my lineup, so I had to figure that out. But they have people that we haven't heard of that are coming up and playing well. Well, I didn't hear what you said.
Why don't you talk more about your fantasy lineup? People love hearing about that.
I'm excited to play again this year, and I already talked a little shit to Logan last time when he wasn't on the show, but yeah, got him in the first week. But you know what it does? It helps me track all of the players on other teams, because when you're so focused on one team, it's hard to do that, I think. It's fun. I'm having fun with it.
No, I agree. It is good, and it's hard to keep track of across the league when I'm not, just all day, every day, just looking at baseball reference like I was maybe a decade ago. So yeah, I certainly see the value in that. The other thing I wanted to mention is that there are reports that the last 2 Yankees who were not vaccinated are now vaccinated, and they should be able to play in Toronto when the Yankees go there May 2nd to the May 4th. So we will see. That's good.
Yeah, they figured it out. They figured it out.
We don't know who they are. We don't know who the last 2 are.
Doesn't matter.
Frankly, at this point, it doesn't matter. If they're all vaccinated,
they can play.
They can all play baseball.
Don't affect my baseball team. That's it. Don't affect my baseball team and the product that we can put out on the field at the end of the day. Like, that's all I really want you to do. Everybody has their own personal choices. Just don't affect what happens on the baseball field. And I won't say a word about it. Also of note, the appeal that the Yankees had for the this document to be the letter to be under seal was denied. So we might be getting something in the next week or so about something, whether, hopefully it was for precedent purposes. That was the why they went down this route. But there's also the other side where there's something in there they don't want people to see. And I guess in a week or so, we'll find out.
I know this sounds counterintuitive because the Yankees are working so hard to keep the letter sealed. I would actually be really surprised if there is something that makes them look bad, because they have gone on the offensive. Brian Cashman 3 weeks ago still blaming the Astros for the cheating and saying that the Yankees should have won the World Series in 2017, that he doesn't agree with the people saying that they're on a World Series drought because the Astros cheated. He said that 3 weeks ago. If this letter comes out and the Yankees also were doing something illegal, he's going to look like even more of a jackass than he looked for those comments.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to expect. Who knows? We'll find out. I'm not going to speculate one way or another, because
what if the document comes out and it's just a bunch of black lines, like
it's all redacted.
Redacted documents have, but it's like the only words you see are the Yankees, and light, like little triggers. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today's episode. For next week's episode on Monday, mailbags. We will do mailbags, so submit your mailbag questions. You can do so at bronxpinstripes.com/podcast, or you can tweet us and DM us those. And Call the voicemail line 646-480-0342. Bravo, everybody. On last episode's mailbags, it was like 10 straight minutes of ranting and raving at the Yankees. Very, very entertaining. So thank you for those. Keep those coming because those are a hell of a lot of fun.